Hello viewers, welcome back. So today is our second episode of our voucher entry. So in the previous session, we saw how simple vouchers are captured using the six primary accounting vouchers in Tally. So we saw the transactions captured in Tally Prime and now we'll quickly move on to Tally.ERP, and where I would just want to show you that there is a slight variation in certain configuration. Like for example, we saw how you can quickly swap between a single entry mode and a double entry mode in case of payment, receipt, and contra. In Tally Prime, where on the right hand side we had a button where you can change the view. That is one aspect of it. The second aspect of it, that in the previous session we saw we passed a purchase entry and a sale entry, where I had mentioned that we will discuss about the accounting of purchase and sales voucher in the form of an invoice, right? So there are two types of invoicing that you can capture. If you have enabled inventory, then actually you can make a purchase and sale entry with the item. So it is very easy. So there is no debit credit, which we will learn little later once we understand the inventory aspect of it. And for companies who are in service segment, uh, even for them, Tally provides an interface to enter the purchase and sales in the invoice mode, so that basically they can take a printout of the invoice, and then they can share it with their customers, especially in case of a sales invoice, right? So they don't have to use another tool or another software or Excel for generating invoice. So both this aspect, once we understand the inventory, we will discuss about that. So in Tally Prime, we had a button on the right hand side where you can swap between voucher mode and invoice mode. So there are slight variation as far as these configurations are concerned uh, in Tally ERP. So that is what I would want to quickly show all of you. So I'm just sharing my screen. Right. So these are the simple entries that we saw in the previous session, and we passed those transactions. Now, quickly, I'll show you how do you pass those transactions, and especially I'm going to show you the configuration that you can set for single entry mode, for payment receipt and contract, and also toggling between voucher mode and invoice mode in case of purchase and sales. So now this is Tally ERP screen. So you have this. Now if you notice here, there is this accounts info and inventory info. Since we have not discussed about the inventory aspect of it, I can actually disable the inventory feature. So how do I disable that? So I go to F11 feature in Tally ERP, then I come to accounting feature, and there is this option which Tally is asking you, do you want to maintain accounts only? You just say yes, I want to maintain accounts only, and press Control A. Now if you come to gateway of Tally, you will notice that the inventory informations are hidden, right? So again, earlier we saw accounts info, inventory info, accounting voucher, inventory voucher. So those are now hidden because we are not enabled inventory. So if you don't want, again, invoice mode, if you come to F11 accounting feature, you have this option on the right hand side where it says enable invoicing. Yes, record purchase invoice, purchase also in invoice mode. So I'm just leaving this as yes. So if I make this as yes, even though I have disabled my inventory feature, like I mentioned just now, you can use the invoice mode for capturing your uh, non-inventory purchase entry and your non-inventory sale entries. Okay, so I'm just leaving this yes here. Let us see what happens. So now I come to voucher entry here, and you will see here by default it comes to the payment voucher, right? So now you are seeing this in the form of debit and credit. Okay, so how do we now uh, convert this into a single entry mode? So like I had mentioned in the previous session, there are three ways of capturing your payment receipt and uh, contra voucher. So either you capture in single entry mode where you don't have to bother about debit credit, and if you want double entry mode, there are two options available in Tally. People who are comfortable with debit credit acronym, you can use that. People who are comfortable with buy and to, Tally allows you to pass the transactions. Instead of debit, you can say buy, and instead of credit, you can say to. So that is also available. That is what I'm going to show you how you can toggle. Now, quickly, Tally ERP, when I come to voucher entry, right? So I'm in the bank payment entry. So let us assume here now now this is single entry mode, right? So if I want to change into double entry mode, so we saw here change mode, you have this double entry and single entry. So how do we do this in Tally ERP? So in Tally ERP, you have to use the F12 configuration, which is our secret number two. So press F12, and you have the second option, use single entry mode for payment receipt and contra voucher. If I make this as yes and I press Control A, and you will notice here now your payment, your receipt, and your contra voucher will be in single entry mode, where you are going to just select the account. But account, when you select, is what is the means in which you are making payment. Are you making a cash payment or a bank payment? You select cash or bank account. And also we saw in the previous session that Tally is going to now filter only the ledgers created under cash and bank, and it is going to populate here in the list of ledgers. Okay, so this is how you have to, if you want to pass an entry in single entry mode, remember F12 in Tally ERP, and remember change mode on the right hand side button in TallyPrime. Okay, so the other one is, if I want to, if I want to enable two one buy instead of debit and credit, again that option is available. Even in Prime, it is there in F12 configuration. You will see that here in F12 configuration, where it says use credit debit instead of to buy during entry. Now, because it is made as yes, I will be getting debit and credit. If you make this as no, Control A, right, and then you convert this into single entry mode. You say no, I don't want single entry mode. In single entry mode, you will not get debit credit. Control A, and now you will get this buy and two, right? So this is the slight variation as far as single entry mode and double entry mode in Tally ERP. The other variation is that when you come to purchase voucher, when you come to purchase voucher, now the purchase voucher, if you see here, it is the interface is like your single entry mode of your payment receipt and contra, where it is going to ask in payment receipt and contra, it asks the account name. So here it is asking you the party name because you are making a purchase from some party. It could also be a cash purchase, or you would have issued a check to make a purchase. So you can select here cash and bank also. So this is like kind of a single entry mode. But then, like I mentioned, we will discuss about how to pass an invoice mode entry for your purchase and sales, even for non inventory companies which are service oriented organizations. We will see that. Now, what is our problem? Our problem is we want to convert this into double entry mode, right? So here, if you see on the right hand side button bar, which is your secret number one, you will see that there is a button. We are seeing the purchase entry in the invoice format. So when you come here on the right hand side, you are seeing a button which says give me the interface as voucher. So I'm going to press the keyboard shortcut is Control V. You press Control V or click here. I'm going to press Control V, and you will now see here this is now converted into double entry mode. Now, because we said you are comfortable with to and buy, so instead of credit here, it is asking you to. Again, if you are comfortable with credit debit, press F12 configuration and say here, no, don't give me to buy. I am comfortable with debit credit. So now Tally is asking you credit instead of to. Now, the moment you are in voucher mode, so this button on the right hand side is basically called as a toggle button, where one single button has it can toggle between voucher mode and invoice mode. So now, because you are in the voucher mode, if you see here on the right hand side, it is now going to show you as invoice. So if you want to pass as an invoice, click here. You will see on the main screen it is in invoice mode. If you say as voucher, you will see this as voucher. Similarly for sales voucher also. So these are the only difference in capturing those simple transactions what we saw in our previous session. So I hope it is not going to be difficult. I had shared those transactions in my description in my previous video. If you want to practice, you can actually use those transactions, or you can have your own transactions and then try to capture one or two entries for each of the voucher type, so that you get familiarized with each of the voucher type, and you will also know what are the kind of information that Tally is asking you. Now it is a very simple voucher entry. We are just getting into the basic of the entry for the Tally basic playlist of my thing. It's not for a regular user or power user, these videos, right? So then as we move forward, as we start understanding various other features of Tally, which are basically advanced features of Tally, then you will feel more comfortable like capturing all those informations in your voucher. So it is very important that you start practicing. You can also, you really don't have to have a licensed version of Tally. In introduction to Tally, I had discussed about how you can download Tally in education version, and then how you can do all your learning, 100% of your learning you can do in education version of Tally. You don't have to buy Tally, you don't have to pay for Tally. So if some of you are new here, probably you can go to my introduction to Tally. I have three parts of introduction to Tally, and in the first part I have mentioned that how you can download the education version of ERP, and also Tally Prime if you would want to start practicing on Tally Prime. Okay. Now we will quickly move on to the compound entries. Again, I've captured one entry for each voucher type, and just to demonstrate to the especially beginners that you really don't have to pass multiple vouchers for a particular nature of a transaction where there are more than one ledger involved in the transactions. So that is basically what how Tally is going to support the compound. So quickly, let me just go to our presentation, right? So here, this is the simple accounting entry that we saw, and we passed those entry. And now we will move into compound accounting entry. So here, quickly, I'll just explain the why do we call this as an compound accounting entry. It's basically because it has got more than one debit or more than one credit in a single voucher entry. So in the previous section we saw a simple voucher entry where you, in each of the voucher type, we had one debit, one credit. So here we might have more than one debit or one credit depending on the nature of transactions that has been that has incurred in the organization. So first, if you see here, the first one is again receipt voucher. In the receipt voucher, uh, we are saying that Mr. Ganesh has further invested additional capital of 1 lakh by way of check, and also he is given 1 lakh rupee worth of computer for business, which means basically he is introducing capital by way of giving an equipment or a computer to the business, which now this computer is going to form part of fixed asset for this company. Okay, so this, how do we handle this? We don't have to pass two separate entry. We will see how we can handle this requirement in Tally in a single voucher entry. Okay, the second one is payment entry, where it talks about a payment of 9,000 made towards insurance for office covering 2 years. Okay. Then, if you come to contra entry, in the contra entry, again, there are two nature of account that is getting involved. So, in the contra entry, if you read this transaction, the transaction says opened an account in HDFC Bank by transferring 25,000 from the existing current account, which is SBI, and they also withdrew 10,000 rupees for office use. Okay. Then you have the purchase voucher. In the purchase voucher, the company is purchased 1,50,000 rupees worth of goods from Zen Trading Corporation on credit. Okay, and they have also received a discount of 10% on the purchase. Now, this company wants to track all the discounts that they have received on purchases as a separate ledger. So, how do we handle this? We will see. Similarly, this company provides 10% discount on all its sales to its customer, and again, they want to track in a separate ledger the amount of discount they had offered to their customer. We will see again how do we handle this. And in the journal entry, if you see in my last session, I had mentioned that there are two purpose for which you use your journal entry. A, all your non-trading or non-manufacturing purchases. Example, any purchase of asset on credit or any purchase of your indirect expenses in nature. For example, if you are buying stationery, or let us say that you have received a bill from a consultant where you need to pay him at a later point in time. Now, that is not going to be a purchase entry, because you are not making payment to your say chartered accountant who's given you a professional bill. You are not going to make a payment immediately to him, so you can't enter in payment voucher, you can't enter in purchase voucher, because I had mentioned, if you recall, you will use your purchase voucher for all those purchases which you are intending to sell those item, or use those item in your manufacturing activity, and the finished goods that you are producing is what you are going to sell. So purchase is majorly going to be part of your trading activity or part of your trading uh, reporting, right? So where am I going to record that? Now, that is where you will use your journal voucher. So that's what we saw in our previous session. And in this session, we discussed about the second aspect of journal entry. We said that journal entry is used in Tally for rectification entry or adjustment entry. So that is what we had mentioned. So in this compound entry, we will see what is the rectification entry, or what mistake has been committed while capturing the preliminary transactions, and how are you going to use your journal voucher for rectification of those mistakes or wrong accounting or wrong posting. Okay. If you see here, the voucher payment, it says that the company is paid 9,000 rupees towards insurance for office covering 2 years. So which means here this insurance is taken on 2nd of April, which means at the beginning of the financial year. So 9,000 constitutes expenses pertaining to the current year, uh, a portion of amount, and expenses pertaining to the future year, right? So if you recall again in our fundamentals of accounting session, we discussed about the provisions and the prepaid expenses to be captured as part of our reporting in your balance sheet. So all those expenses which you have incurred, irrespective of whether you have made payment or no, all those expenses pertaining to that financial year you need to account for. And if the payment have not been made, you make a provision, where we example that discussed is salary payable, rent payable, electricity charges payable, because these expenses you have incurred for the month of March, but you are not making a payment in the month of March, so you are making payment in the next month, which eventually becomes the next financial year. So that is where you take your provisional transactions. Similarly, any expenses which is not pertaining to that financial year, you will treat that as an asset for your reporting period. Now in this example, if you see, we the company is paid 9,000 rupees for 2 years. So that means if it is paid for April, generally the insurance is for the term is for 12-month period. So April to March, which is this financial year of 21-22, how much does it constitute? Basically, if you see 9,000 for 2 years, divide by 2, it is going to be 4,500 for current year and 4,500 for the next year. So now, because by mistake I have passed this transaction and I have debited my insurance completely as my expenditure, now when I realized on 20th of April, when I was reviewing my books of account, or when I was reviewing my profit and loss account statement, I realized that the entire 9,000 rupees has been booked as expenses. So that is not right. So now I want to shift the portion of the amount, which is 50% of the amount, into another account called prepaid insurance or prepaid expenses. Because the expenses is prepaid, I have to now consider that as my asset for my current year. So that is where you are going to use your journal entry. So these are the different transactions. Quickly, let us see how do we capture this information. First, we will see in Tally Prime, and then we will go into TallyERP. Okay, so now this is in the single entry mode, right? So what I do, I'm going to come here, and then I'm going to say change mode. I want to enter in. Sorry, I want change mode. I want to enter in double entry mode, right? So this is my payment. So I want my receipt entry. I'm going to press F6 or click here, right? So first it is asking me credit. So if you take the first transaction, Mr. Ganesh has invested 1 lakh by way of money or cash into the bank, and is provided 1 lakh rupee worth of computer as is capital contribution to the company. So how are we going to capture this? So if you see totally, what is the total additional capital Mr. Ganesh is invested? 1 lakh plus 1 lakh. So my credit to my Ganesh, because we have already created Ganesh account, so I type Ganesh capital account, and I'm going to say 2 lakh is what Ganesh is paid by way of capital. And so it is Tally will remember your previously saved master in the voucher, and it will actually populate that, right? So if you okay, now he's given me 1 lakh worth of check which I'm depositing in my bank account. So I'm going to debit my bank account, debit what comes in real account. Okay, so how much money, how much check did he give? 1 lakh rupee worth. So I'm going to enter 1 lakh, and the balance 1 lakh he gave in the form of a computer. Now we have already seen asset purchase of laptop in the previous session in our simple transaction. If you want, you can put that in that particular ledger, or In your company, let us assume that you want to track each asset by its nature of asset or by its property. For example, in case of a computer or a laptop, you would want to have a separate ledger account for different configuration of your computer or laptop. So laptop is already there. If you want to use the same ledger, you can use it. Otherwise, now you know that you have to press Alt C to create a new ledger in the voucher entry screen. So here let's calculate capture as computer. So this is going to be my fixed assets. Enter, nothing else to be done. Control A, I am saving this, and automatically Tally populates that newly created ledger. And the balance of 1 lakh is automatically taken here. So I had mentioned that Tally will ensure that the total of your debit and the total of your credit has to match. So you will see here, debit has got two different ledger of 1 lakh each, and credit has got one ledger of 2 lakh each. Okay, so now Tally will save. So enter the narration, whatever is the narration you're going to enter the narration, enter proper narration, right? And then you accept this. So this is how you capture a compound transaction in case of your receipt entry we have seen. And the next one is basically my payment, where I made a payment of 9,000 rupees, right? So I'm going to now uh, go to my payment voucher. When I go to my payment voucher, we have seen that I had created two voucher type, user defined voucher type. I'm going to select my bank voucher, right? And the bank voucher here, okay, it is in the single entry mode. I can enter it in the single entry mode also. So here on 2/4, I have made the payment of 9,000 rupees towards my insurance. If you notice here, the moment I come into any voucher type, Tally is automatically bringing my cursor into the first ledger. Now, in the single entry mode, this is the first ledger where it is asking you the mode of payment, right? Now I have to change this date because my date is 2/4. I have to change the date. So right. So how do I change the date? Right. So now you can use right hand side button bar. You have this F2. You can press F2 and change the date. But then every time you don't want to press F2 and then change the date, you want Tally to take your cursor to the date field, right? So how do you now configure to take your cursor to the date field? Remember your secret number two, right? Press F12 configuration, and here there is this option, skip the date field during voucher entry creation. Because it is made as yes, Tally is skipping the date field. Now why should this option be there? See, normally in a business, you would be doing lot of transactions on an ongoing basis or on a daily basis. If you see, your records are maintained on a real time basis, on a day to day basis. So let's say you have completed your previous day transaction, and now you open Tally for you to now start capturing the transactions for today. So what you do, first time you just press F2, because it is in the skip date field is there. Just press F2 and then put today's date. Whatever is the date today, you just enter today's date. And now uh, for this entire day, you are going to start capturing many vouchers. There will be many receipt voucher, payment voucher, purchase, sales. And every time you don't want to press one extra enter to bring your cursor to the first ledger account. So basically this option saves the user 1 second of the time. Instead of pressing one extra enter, it comes to the first ledger. But in this case, let us say if you are doing some backdated entry, or you are updating information which are backdated transactions. So in that case, probably you would, because you will have different vouchers for different dates, which you would have to keep changing the date based on the voucher that you are currently trying to enter, right? So that is where you have this option. When you say skip date, Now you say, no, no, don't skip date. I will have to change the date. So I'll press Control A, and all you have to do is just come back once and press voucher enter. And now you see the cursor is blinking at your date field, right? So now it is asking you that what is the date for this particular voucher entry, right? Now the first voucher, uh, we were supposed to pass this on 1st of April, right? So let me see what is the date that we have entered. So how do I see this now? So one is you come to your day book. So now quickly for you to come to the day book, you don't have to escape. This is the third secret as far as Tally Prime is concerned. Like I said, go to is the power of Tally. This is the Google of Tally. So you are inside the voucher. You are not sure uh, what was the date that you captured for your first entry. So how do you quickly see this? Just press Alt G and then type daybook. Okay, enter here, and then you, if you come here, you see this is this capital entry that I passed, which is on 10th of May, right? Where I have passed this on 10th of May, which should have actually been 1st of April. Now the cursor is already there, so all I do is I press 1 4. You don't have to press the year, because Tally knows what is the current period or the current year. Okay, now you just press Control A. So now, so this is moved out to my 1st of April. So how do you see whether it has gone to the 1st of April? Again, very simple. You have this F2 date, click F2, and then you are asking Tally to show all the transactions that you have captured for 1st of April, right? So 1st of April, I think this was done in my last session. I'll show you how to delete all this. Don't worry, right? So this is the entry that I'm going to pass on first, 1st of April, which I have now moved it into the 1st of April date. Okay. Now we will come to the payment voucher. So now we will see how to capture the payment entry. So I go to vouchers. I press V is the hotkey, right? So this is in purchase. I know how to change my voucher type. So I go to payment, right? So I'm going to select bank payment here. And now my cursor is on the date field. It is not skipping. So my second entry is on 2nd of April. And now just notice here, again, the date intelligence that is built in Tally. So what I want to do is I want to change the date to my next day. So I am going to use this date field, right? And just notice here, when I click on date field, Tally is automatically captured the next date, right? So I want to change the date. F2 is to change the date. So if I press F2, now Tally will assume that you want to go to the next day. So I just press F2, it goes to the next day. So when you come next day, all you have to do is just press F2 and press enter. You don't even have to enter the current date, right? So just enter here. It is taken the 2nd of April here. So how am I making this payment? I'm making through bank. So we saw the alias which we created in the last session, right? So it's my cursor is already there on one. So I enter here, right? And what is the payment that I'm making towards what? I'm making a payment towards insurance. This ledger is already created in our previous session. So I'm selecting insurance. I'm going to entering the amount of 9,000, which here I'm debiting my entire amount into my insurance account, which is my indirect expenses. Again, type your narration, save it. So the next entry that we are going to see is the contra entry. Now in the contra entry, in the payment entry, we never had a compound transaction. In contra, we are having a compound transaction where 25,000 rupees is used towards opening an account in another new bank which the company is opening, and they withdrew cash of 10,000. So how do I now capture this information? So you come to contra, press F4, right? And then the date is now, Tally is, I mean, like, remembering your change in the date. So this contra entry is happening on 10th. And again, notice here, right? I'm not going to type 10 dash 4 dash 2020 and all those things. I'm just going to type 10, right? And I'm going to press enter, go back. Tally will know that you want the date of 10th of April, because you are already in the month of April. So when you give a previous day or the next day for that particular month, Tally will retain the month, and Tally will retain the financial year because of the current period that we saw in the gateway of Tally. So these are the intelligence that is built in Tally. That is how, it's a pleasure for people to work on Tally, especially data entry operators and the accountants. They love passing transactions because of the small aspects which I mean, like, has been taken care in Tally, which is a delight for the users. Okay, so 10 10 4, the date is changed. So now here, if you see here, my there is 20, so money is going out of my bank. So in Contra Entry, Tally is asking me by default, the first ledger, it is asking me credit, right? So now 25,000 I have used from this bank, and also I withdrew 10,000. What is the total amount that is that was withdrawn from this bank? 25,000 plus 10,000, 35,000, right? So now this is a very, I mean, like, small amount which, mentally you can calculate. 25,000 plus 10,000 is 35,000 rupees. You can actually, the cursor is here on uh, number one, which is my alias. So I'm going to select here, and I can type 35,000 here. Now what happens, you have certain transactions where you will have values which are odd numbers, or multiple values are there. So in that case, you normally, what we do is we take a calculator, and then we calculate and then enter. Now Tally says, no, 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 don't use. When you're using Tally says, don't use any other tool. I will provide you calculator, right? Whenever you want to compute or calculate multiple amount with this basic calculation of your addition, division, multiplication and subtraction, I will give you a calculator. You use this, and we will now see the magic of calculator in Tally, because some of them might not know that this feature is available in Tally. So what I'm going to do now is that, let's assume for a minute that we don't know what is the total of 25 plus 10,000, where I need to get the answer. So I don't know. So I am not going to use the calculator. Tally says that whenever you are in the amount column, so my cursor is there in the amount column, where I have to specify the amount. Okay. Now Tally says, if you are in the amount column, if you want to do calculation, you want to take an amount and divide by some amount and then get the answer here, or multiply it, or add it, or subtract it, whatever you want to do, all you have to do is, Tally says, when your cursor is there on the amount field, press Alt C. Now, when my cursor is there on the particulars or my ledger field, when I press Alt C, we have seen we have already created ledger. So on the fly, Tally allows you to create ledger from within the voucher. So that's the feature or facility of Alt C in case of a particular area, or where the ledger master or item master needs to be selected. Okay. Now my cursor is here in the amount column. So again, Tally says, when your cursor is there on your amount column, press Alt C. When you press Alt C, Tally says, I will bring the calculator here. So now you start doing your calculation. So now what is that I need to do? I have to say 25,000. You will notice here, it is, capturing the value to calculate, plus 10,000. Now this is I've done. Now I want to say equal to. Right. So for me to say equal to, I can just press enter. The moment I press enter, it is going to give me a result, right? And the best part of this calculator panel that Tally provides you is that, it retains the history of your calculation. So at any point in time, you can go and recall your calculation track. Whatever different calculation that you have done, you can, view them as a recall, so that it retains till you close Tally. So now I'm going to press enter. Just see what happens when I press enter. I press enter and you will notice here the result is pasted in the column, right? So which is the its enter is equal to your equal sign, right? So 35,000 rupees, it is now credited automatically. So remember to use your calculator through alt C keyboard shortcut, and make use of the calculator panel that Tally provides. Now the calculator panel is going to be there. If you feel that it is eating up your space depending on your monitor screen resolution and other thing. If you don't want, there is this X mark here, just click here, the calculator is hidden back. Okay. So now, it is asking me, so one is that I have created open new bank. I'm opening a account. So the name of the bank is HDFC Bank. So I'm selecting HDFC Bank. I'm going to enter 25,000. Right. So this HDFC Bank is not there. So you would create. I had just created to save time. Right. So because now you know how to create an account on the fly. So 25,000 is what you have transferred the money from SBI to HDFC to open the account. So your HDFC is receiving money. So debit what comes in? Money comes into HDFC Bank. So you're debiting HDFC Bank 25,000 and money is going out of SBI Bank. That is why you're crediting 25 out of this 35. So now the next one, balance 10. Tally is now asking balance 10,000 rupees. It is now trying to match your total of your debit and credit, right? So the balance 10,000 rupees, I have withdrawn cash. So 10,000 is there. So your credit debit is matching. And now you press enter, enter your narration. Okay. Type your narration and then accept this. Okay. So Contra is done. The next one is the purchase voucher. Again, it is on 10/4, and you have uh, a purchase worth of 1,50,000 where you are getting a discount of 10%, right? So how do we capture this? Now again, I have created the respective ledgers that are required, which needs to be created. In this case, Zen Trading Corporation is a new supplier. I have already created this, right? And then discount I have received, so I have also created a discount received ledger. I'll just show you. So now uh, I this is my purchase entry. So I come to my purchase entry. It is going to be in the invoice mode, and it is the invoice mode where basically here also we have disabled inventory, but still the invoice mode comes for your service oriented tally companies. So I don't want invoice mode now. So I'm going to go change mode and I'm going to say as voucher. So now as voucher is come. So I'm going to credit. So who's the giver? Zen Trading Corporation is giving me the product. Now, I have purchased for 1,50,000 rupees worth of goods, right? And it's a credit purchase, and he's already allowed me 10% discount. So 10% on 1,50,000 is 15,000 rupees. So now, at a later point in time, when I'm going to make a payment to him, what is the amount that I'm going to make payment to him? I'm not going to pay him 1,50,000, right? I'm going to pay him 1,35,000 because that 15 is the discount that is given me. In my company, I want to track the discount separately. This is what we discussed earlier, right? So now what I'm going to do, it is asking me credit. So I'm going to say Zen Trading Corporation, right? And we saw this, in the last session, I was talking about that with this subscreen will come. We will discuss about that once we get to understand the inventory mode, right? So I said press Control A. Again, one more screen is coming, press Control A, and now it takes you to your amount column. Now, if this is if you feel that it is irritating, see, initially when you open a company, you will not get this configuration enabled, right? So now, in case let us assume that this option is coming to you, and you don't want to capture any additional information. How do you remove this irritant aspect? Because Control A, Control A twice you have to do, and then you're wasting that much of seconds while capturing the entry. So is there a way that I can avoid this subscreen if I don't want? So Tally says, don't worry. Yes, it is possible. So how can you do this? Secret number two, right? Press F12 configuration, and see here there is this option, provide supplier detail. No, I don't want to provide supplier detail, so I say no. Do you want to provide receipt, order, import detail? No, I don't want to provide, so I say no. And now I'm going to press Control A. See, I would want, especially for beginners who are getting into Tally for the first time, please try to spend more time in understanding the configuration for each of the area. Like I mentioned in my introduction to Tally, the F12 configuration is a dynamic configuration screen that is available in every screen of Tally: voucher entry, master creation, reports, and depending on your main screen, the configuration that Tally is going to ask you varies based on your primary screen information that you are seeing. So I want you people to start experimenting this and try to understand what are all the kinds of configuration that you can do for different areas, so that you know that how you can see the richness of the features that are available, and some of the features which are hidden you can actually enable them for more effective capturing of information, right? So I'm going to press Control A. Now you see here, I'm going to bring my cursor here. And earlier when you select the party and when you entered, those two subscreens were opening. Now I'm going to press enter. When I press enter, my cursor is straight away going into the amount column. So that two subscreens are not opening. So now you know how to disable those subscreens. There are a lot of things that you can enable, disable using your secret number two, which is your F12 configuration. So here, Zen Trading Corporation, I'm going to pay 1,35,000. So I'm going to say 135 is what I'm going to pay him, right? And what is my purchase value? My purchase value is 1,50,000, right? Because I want to show my purchase and then show my discount separately. Now 135 I have credited, 150 I have debited. Now what happens? Let us see. Now Tally is, see there, Tally is now automatically asking for the balance credit. It says balance credit, tell me what is the ledger that you want to credit the balance 15,000, because now the debit total and credit total is not matching. That's what Tally is telling you, right? So go to credit, and in this case I'm going to create a ledger called discount received, right? So discount received I've already created. And discount received normally, right, again it depends on business to business where you want to capture, but our fundamentals of accounting, we had discussed that what constitutes direct income, what constitutes indirect income. We also discussed about what are those accounts which constitute direct expenses and indirect expenses. So you can go back to my fundamentals of accounting, where we had discussed in detail about classifying these ledgers. Now this discount received, I have put it under my direct income because it is directly associated with my purchase, right? And normally it could happen on a regular basis depending on the businesses that I have with my vendors. So how do I see that this particular ledger is put under which group? I want to just cross verify and make sure that I put it under the right group. Or if I put it under a wrong group, how can I now quickly go and reclassify them? Right? Very simple. Just the cursor is there on your ledger selection. Press Control Enter. We have discussed about this in one of our previous session. So press Control Enter. Now Tally will take you to the master alteration. So you go to the master alteration, and you will see this discount received ledger which is put under direct income. Now, if you feel that it is not direct income, you want to put it under indirect income, you can put it under indirect income. It all depends on what perspective that you want to have your financial accounting reporting for your organization, right? So I can do this. And the best part is that any alteration that you do in your ledger grouping is not going to impact any of your transactions. You really don't have to worry. Even if you have captured so many transactions over the period of your entire year, and at the last day of your financial year when you are trying to regroup them to give proper reporting of your financial statement, you really don't have to worry. Just go and regroup it. All your vouchers will automatically go and sit in those respective ledgers of the newly modified group. So all that is taken care. We will again discuss all this in detail when we keep moving forward. Okay. So currently, Don't worry if you are changing the group or if you are renaming your ledger, all the entries which have been captured for the ledger will be retained as it is. Okay, even if you are modifying your group. So now I know that I have put it under the right group. I'm going to press Control A or Control Q. Control Q is to quit without saving. Okay, please make a note. Control Q is quit without saving. So now I'm going to now automatically Tally puts that balance 15,000, right? So 135.15. Supposing if I enter 10,000 as credit, now Tally will again ask me what is the next ledger for the balance 5,000. So this is how Tally makes sure that your total debit and your total credit is matching before you save your voucher. So in this case, so now I am showing 15,000 separately as my direct income, and my purchase is going to be 1,50,000. So now I just press enter, type your narration, okay, and then save it. So this is where I capture the compound transaction in case of my purchase. So let us quickly see my sales. What is my sales, this thing? So I'm going to, let's go to sales here quickly. Yeah, let's go to sales here quickly, and we will see again. I have made a sale of 1 lakh, provided 10% discount to India Mart. India Mart, already we made a sale in our simple transaction. So the ledger is already there. Our sales ledger is already there. Only ledger that I need to create here is a ledger called discount allowed. Okay, so let's quickly go here and then see how are we going to capture this entry. So I go to my sales. Okay, I'm going to select my voucher type, whatever is my voucher type. I'm going to go to change mode, and I'm saying I want it as a voucher, right? And then I'm going to enter here. Okay, now I've just entered without changing the date. So don't worry, you have either you press backspace or you press F2 and then put 15, automatically the date will get updated there. Okay, enter, enter. I'm going to now debit, debit my India Mart. So India Mart I've selected. Okay, so now again here I'm going to capture the amount that I am to receive from the customer. So 1 lakh is my sale to him, 10,000 is the discount I have given. So which means I have to receive only 90,000 at a later date. So I'm going to say I have to receive 90,000 from Zen. Okay, my sale is 1 lakh. Okay, and now Tally is asking me what is the balance debit. So now I have created one ledger called discount allowed. Now where is this discount allowed? Normally this discount allowed, I'm pressing control enter. Normally this discount allowed will be part of your indirect expenses. It is nothing related to 10. This is, see, all this is like kind of a promotional activity that you want to do in your organization for increasing. So these are various strategies that you would adopt in your organization for increasing your sales or attracting good customers, or the best paying masters, and various things are there. So because this is an optional thing, so normally this is not mandatory expenses for you. So I'm going to put this as my promotional activity, which is my indirect expenses. So it is already done in indirect expenses. Now I can press Control Q here because everything is fine. I don't want to save anything because I have not modified anything. I'm going to press Control Q, and then it is going to come back without changing anything. So I've selected discount allowed. So Tally automatically puts this 10,000. Now I enter here, and then you type your narration and accept. What is the next one? The next one is on 20th of April. I realized that the entire amount of 9,000 was debited to insurance ledger, which is part of my expenses. Now I need to transfer 50% of that into my prepaid expenses, which is going to be part of my asset. So this is where I'm going to use my journal entry. Right, so how am I going to do this? I'm going to come here, press F7, journal entry, and now here I have to, originally I debited 9,000 rupees my insurance account, right? So now I have to reverse it. So what I'm going to do, 9,000 debit I have done, 4,500 has to be credited to my insurance account. So if you're crediting 4,500 rupees to your insurance account, so the balance is going to be 4,500 debit. Now this, where is this debit going to go? So now this debit needs to go into a ledger that you will create as prepaid expenses or prepaid insurance, which is going to be part of your asset, right? So I have already created prepaid insurance. Okay, where is it classified? Control enter. I put it under my current asset. Okay, so again, as part of your asset, Tally also has a group called miscellaneous expenses, which is part of your asset. So you can put them either there, or you can put them under your current asset with the proper name. So if you have multiple prepaid expenses, you can have prepaid insurance, prepaid rent, whatever. So you can do that, or you can have a common ledger called prepaid expenses. So if you have a common ledger, it is very important for you to capture the narration. In the narration, you have to say what is this nature of prepaid expenses, right? So that is where your narration is going to really help. Otherwise, you will create one ledger called prepaid expenses. There'll be so many other prepaid expenses that you will keep debiting here in case it happens in your organization, and then you will not know what is this amount for which it is prepaid, right? So that in the next year, when you're going to reverse this entry passing a journal, you would not know to which expenses to actually debit, right? Either you create independent ledger so that each ledger identifies the nature of prepaid expenses, or if you are having a common ledger, make sure that you enter in the narration what is the nature of expenses which is prepaid in this transaction, which you are capturing in your common ledger. Okay, so this is under my current asset. Again, I'm pressing Control Q. Prepaid expenses, I'm going to debit 4,500, and I'm going to credit my insurance ledger, right? So insurance is credited 4,500, so it gets reversed. So here you can mention reversal of reversal of insurance amount which was wrongly debited to expenses, now reversed. Okay, so now I'm in the narration column. Again, I forgot to change my date, right? So what do I do now? Should I have to keep pressing backspace 5 6 times to go to the field? No. So your secret number one, which is your F2. So wherever you are inside the voucher, if you want to change the date, just press F2. Tally will take you to the next day. It is now not on the next day, it is on 20th. Just press 24 and you press Control A. So it is how that it is so flexible and easy for you to capture the transactions in Tally. Okay, I mean, like and the flexibility which offers in modifying and reviewing your masters and all those things inside the voucher is very easy and very simple, right? So these are some of the examples of compound entry, that accounting entry that we saw in Tally. And again, in Tally ERP, I have already mentioned that the experience of you capturing the transactions, just now what we saw in Tally Prime, is exactly the same way that you can capture here, right? So let me just quickly take, since this purchase is open, let us take this purchase voucher which is on 10/4, right? So again, I can press, I just press 10 and I enter here, and you will see here Tally is taken 10/4, right? So I come here, okay, and then we will enter the supply invoice number, date, and all you need to capture. And I'll also tell you certain validation what Tally does in those areas as we come to the invoice mode of voucher entry. We will discuss about that. So here it is asking give credit. So in the credit again, I have to I have purchased from Zen Trading. So if you see here in the list of account, Zen Trading is not there. I'm going to press Alt C, and then I'm going to type create a ledger called Zen Trading Corporation. This is my sundry creditors, right? And I'm going to press Control A. So here I'm going to say I'm going to pay him 1,35,000 at a later date, and my debit is my purchase, which is 1,50,000, right? and the balance credit, I'm going to press Alt C, and I'll say discount received. This is going to be part of my indirect income, right? Control A, 15,000 tally. Again, it is automatically picking up, enter, and this is how you capture. It's exactly the same way, except that in the beginning of this session, I had mentioned that how do you toggle between single entry mode, multi entry mode, and how do you toggle between voucher entry mode and invoice mode. The difference between the configuration the areas in case of Tally ERP and Tally Prime, right? So I hope this session, especially for beginners, would have given more clarity and understanding of what are different ways that we can capture the transactions. One we saw simple entry, the other one we saw compound accounting entries also. Now there are a lot of other magics in these entries also, which we will keep learning as we move forward, right? So this completes our basic accounting transactions for my playlist on Tally Basics. And the next session in Tally Basics will be part of the fundamentals, where now we will get into the inventory fundamentals. So we will understand the fundamentals of inventory, and then we will also see how you are going to now enable and manage and maintain your inventory information in Tally. So thank you all for staying till the end. As usual, if you have not subscribed, kindly subscribe. You can share this link to your friends and colleagues so that they can also benefit. See you all until the next session. Thank you very much.